Welcome to this intro on the Gene Keys. So this is a brand new portion of the course. This is an add-on, and I believe it's going to be integrated into Higher for long term, because having worked with Andrea Walker over the last, I think, 5 or 6 months, and being friends with her for a long time, so seeing her go through this path of becoming a Gene Keys guide and expert, it has completely changed my life this summer. So I'm recording this in November of 2023, which is when we're going to begin integrating the Gene Keys into Higher. So this is a course about connecting with and discovering more of your truth, your deepest truth. I call it your soul purpose. We all came here with a mission. Some of us have missions to overcome karma, and they may be on like a smaller, less obvious level, just, being a really good person. Whereas before you spent many years being closed off and emotionally unavailable, and you work your way through that and become a very vulnerable, emotionally intelligent person. That can be a soul purpose. And another soul purpose can be, being a teacher, being a guide. So it doesn't always mean vocation, but throughout this course, you're going to discover layers upon layers about why your soul decided to come here. And the reason I decided to include the Gene Keys in part of this exploration is because it is an incredible roadmap. So it's a huge body of work. You can look it up online. You can look up your own profile. We're going to be going through 4 of the Gene Keys. So just the first 4 spheres, because it's all about contemplation. You can't study this. You can't get it right the first time you hear it. It's really about contemplating and letting it sink in, seeing how it relates to you, contemplating on how it's played out in your life, and how you are going to choose to use it as inspiration, as insight into expanding your consciousness. So let's dive into what the Gene Keys are. The Gene Keys are really like, you can think of it as navigating your inner cosmos. So we have all of the answers within. And in this boundless expanse of your existence lies a map, lies a sacred map in your heart. And it's etched with an intricate pattern of your soul, of what your soul decided to come here to do. Hello, little boy. So it's a map that reveals in the Gene Keys, he calls them the shadows, the gifts, and the cities, which is essentially the most enlightened version of you, or the boundless potential of your fully realized self. So welcome to this transformative realm of not only Higher, but the Gene Keys as well. And it's a brand new addition, like I said, to Higher, and I think it's going to fit in brilliantly. So in the exploration and the contemplation of your personal Gene Keys profile, which you can look up on your own, like I said, but don't get too lost in it. Let it come to you in this course. But you're going to be embarking on this journey of self-discovery through the avenues of Higher, through the teachings of Higher, and through the Gene Keys. So the Gene Keys are really guided by the wisdom of your own DNA. And they're ego shattering. It's very humbling, but also soul illuminating. So we're so lucky to have our wise guide, Andrea Walker. Thank you, Andrea, who is a Gene Keys expert. And she's going to be helping awaken the wisdom within your DNA through helping guide you through your own personal Gene Keys profile, looking at the shadows, looking at the gifts, looking at the cities, and what all that means. Within the depths of this exploration, you're going to uncover like the alchemy or alchemical makeup of who you are. And it's going to help you understand how your life challenges are not stumbling blocks, but they can be the fuel that ignites your creative genius. And that's what the shadow is. So when we take these shadows as being grateful for them or the gifts, it leads us on to learning the lessons that we came here to learn. So the Gene Keys really help illuminate the path, essentially, towards turning all of this adversity in our challenges and our mistakes and our into this like artistry. So they invite you to transmute your struggles and your challenges into the stepping stones towards becoming your most extraordinary self. So inside Higher, you're going to learn how to essentially like create the fertile soil for your breakthroughs. And we're going to nurture these conditions so that you can evolve. And you're going to recognize the importance of cultivating what's called core stability in the Gene Keys. This is the anchor grounding you into your physical body. And so that way you can ascend into these higher states of consciousness. But we really need to be anchored here, anchored in our physical body, anchored into our heart. So I'll be leading you through a lot of exercises that do that as well. But the Gene Keys talks about this too, just in a different way. So here you're going to discern the delicate balance between your outer work, which is always subject to change, and your highest purpose, which is an unwavering truth or beacon of light that remains constant because it lives within you. So in the Gene Keys exploration, we're going to be exploring, like I said, 4 of the spheres of your Gene Keys profile. And these first 4 are called the prime gifts. And Richard Rudd is the developer of the Gene Keys, and it's called Unveiling Your Genius. So in our 6 months together, throughout the course of Higher, we'll be journeying through these first 4 prime gifts. And Richard says these are the cornerstone elements of your unique genius in life. So you can imagine them as the keys that unlock the doors to your deepest potentials and unveil the mythic themes and challenges that shape your existence. This is so beyond just this life. Through this step-by-step guide of it's called your hologenetic profile, you will traverse the terrain of your prime gifts, aligning with the purpose that pulses at the core of your being. So it could not be more perfect for what we do along with the Higher curriculum and activities and exploring expanded states of consciousness and doing practices in terms of, somatics and breath work and microdosing and things like that. So I just wanted to talk also a little bit about how personality profiling systems can contribute to your personal growth and to your soul's evolution. So since our personality is so heavily influenced by the familiar, by the cultural and environmental conditioning that we've received, as well as the main characteristics and programs that we're running in the collective at the level of consciousness when you came into the world, I personally find a lot of benefit in using personality typing systems to see where I might still be acting out of conditioning versus my true authentic self. The majority of us are acting from our conditioning until we wake up, until we become aware. So until something starts to feel off. And that's what we chose to come here to do. So these personality profiling systems, whether it's astrology or Mayan cosmology or the Gene Keys or human design, they're all going to give us insight into what our truer personality characteristics are based on the time of birth, where you were born, and based on basically the cosmology. Our personalities are always transforming as we grow and evolve, and that's a good thing. We don't want to be the same exact person for our whole life. That would be boring as hell, and there would be very little growth in that. So the positive characteristics of your personality that are like the genuine qualities, the authentic qualities, the ones that really feel pure and that seem rooted in you as truth and serve a good purpose. Those are the ones that are in alignment with your soul purpose. So oftentimes when we're young and we read our astrology, sometimes we can identify with a little bit of it. But I remember reading my astrology chart like in college, I think when I got into astrology in a big way. And a lot of it didn't fit. And the more and more I evolve into my true self, the more layers that I shed, the more conditioning that I shed, I can totally relate to my chart. So in a way, I remember having astrology readings in college and thinking like, some of it resonated, but I knew I wasn't there yet because I was operating out of a conditioned Hollis versus an authentic version of me. The one that my astrology chart was telling me is the more true version of what I came here to be and do. So then there's like this dark side, right? The shadows. The Gene Keys talks about the shadows, and these are usually the less desirable personality characteristics that, like I said, we are either aware of if we're conscious and curious, or we can just be unaware of them. They're in our subconscious still. And these traits are the ones that oftentimes become challenged to change and evolve when you begin doing the inner work. So that's why I say it's ego shattering, right? Or like being asked to all of a sudden be a different person and act a different way. So sometimes there's resistance when these parts of our personalities, which can also be referred to as the ego, when these parts are challenged. But when we can allow our shadows to like lead us in the direction of transformation and allow these certain parts of us to be acknowledged and, like I teach you in Higher, loved and embraced and accepted, and we work on those parts of ourselves versus just either allowing them to be and run out of control or completely negating that we have them, then you can get into the real work of discovering your deepest truth. When we can accept and acknowledge our shadows and just look at it like, I'm an imperfect human and it's okay and this is what my soul came here to do, that's when we have this huge opportunity to blast the doors wide open in our consciousness and evolve into the person that we came here to be, the best version of ourselves. So in the Gene Keys, for example, when you begin to move more into the gift and the cities from the shadow, and you spend lesser time in that shadow frequency, and feel it in your body, you can feel it in your body as more energy, as more, like I even refer to it as more space. So more energy, more vitality, more space, more flow, more happiness, more alignment, more synchronicities. And it's because more of you are being closer to how your soul wants to express itself. So you're becoming the newer, the updated, the upgraded, and the more aligned, right, soul-aligned version of yourself in this process of transforming that shadow into the gifts. Sometimes it's, letting go of patterns and really digging in and becoming very, very keenly aware of the way we react to situations. And other times it's pretty obvious. Sometimes these things are easier to change. You could just say like, that's caused me a lot of pain and I'm no longer available for that. But like I said, it's a humbling process. I'm not going to lie. So just being here, showing up for it, being open to seeing what the Gene Keys has to reveal to you is going to be the fun part. So letting go of the parts that no longer serve your highest expression, creating that more aligned way of being, like this is a constant evolution throughout your lifetime. And you will see that the more of your personality traits that you discover about yourself that are in alignment with your soul's purpose, these are the ones that you feel the most power from when you begin to step into them. Like I said, more synchronicities, more flow, more ease, more grace. It's amazing. And you can really tell the difference when you start to do these practices, like the somatic practices you'll learn in Higher, of the difference between being in a shadow frequency and embodying your gift. And the more in alignment with we are with our soul's purpose, the highest, best expression of ourselves, the more we can share the high frequency energy and our gifts with others as well. And this is either directly with the interactions, with people in your life, or being of service to others. But this also translates in terms of the quantum. Like the higher vibration you are when you're in your gift, when you're in your city, you're vibrating at a very high frequency. And this translates out into the cosmos as far as you can imagine. So you can help transform a person who's depressed and hopeless and, maybe very sick or very ill. We can always contribute to the well-being, to the raising the vibration, to the healing of others through the work that we do. And this is just such a gift. Using the word gift a lot in this video. So here's a quote by Carl Jung, who was a Swiss psychologist. Most of you have probably heard of him. But he was really a personality in this, or a popular, popular psychologist. And he worked on personality typing. So I have a quote that I want to read. And it says, "Being who we are releases an extraordinary power that, without intent or design, affects the people who come in contact with such realness." So that's what we're doing here over these 6 months. And the Gene Keys are such a potent tool, one of many, but they really are a potent tool that I think a lot more people are going to be diving into in our evolutionary process, because, man, are they in alignment. They just hit home. They really, really hit home. I started looking into the Gene Keys 4 years ago, and it just didn't resonate with me. I wasn't ready for some reason. And just this last year, bang, like it is all started to sink in. It's all started to integrate, and it's become this force that has transformed me without even really having to do anything other than become more aware and contemplate. And that's really how Richard Rudd, and Andrea will explain more about this when we actually get into it, but that's what he says. It's all about contemplation. We can't study this. We can't change just by knowledge, but it's really about contemplating, where have these shadows played out in your life? Where are they still playing out? Where you're still reacting out of this shadow frequency? How can you learn to embrace and love that more? And again, also at the same time, the majority of you are most likely embodying the gift frequencies in a huge way. So where are you embodying the gift frequencies? Where are the shadow and the gift? In what situations, maybe in what relationships, in what experiences, in what areas of your life are the shadow and the gift kind of playing a dual role? How can you let go or transform some of that shadow? How can you contemplate it and see how it's not serving you? When we see how it's not serving us, and when we see maybe it's hurting others, that's when we can really be motivated to step more into our shadow, put more effort, into our gifts, put more effort and more energy and more focused awareness, consciousness into embodying the gifts when we are called to do so. So I've included under this video a bunch of resources. I highly recommend going to genekeys.com and purchasing the activation sequence course. So that's going to be the most helpful, and then you'll have access to it as well for life. I think it's like $150. So purchase the activation sequence course. That's going to cover the 4 gene keys, the 4 spheres that we're going to cover over these next 6 months. And then you'll have Andrea's input and your own contemplation, and then you'll have that as a resource as well. It's a really, really good way to go through the Gene Keys. Highly recommend it. And then there's a ton of books that you can get. I only have one of them. I have the blue book, like the big Gene Keys book that has, every single Gene Key in it, and you can read about those. But in your personal profile, I believe we have 13 Gene Keys in our personal profile. I can't remember, but we don't have all 64. So the big blue book has all 64. You can get the shorter condensed versions, which you can just buy the book on the activation sequence. I think it's called a guide, like a guide to your activation sequence or something like that. So you can look into the resources that I've listed below, and you can decide which ones, if any, you want to purchase as extra materials to support you specifically in learning these Gene Keys and exploring this one part of the course. Okay, so we will begin with Andrea in month 2, and we'll be contemplating one Gene Key per month. So month 2, month 3, month 4, and month 5, we'll be contemplating those different Gene Keys. Now, another interesting thing to add in is that the pathways between the spheres also have significance. And so you're going to see how you can evolve from one sphere to the next sphere and what that means. So a lot in these first 4 Gene Keys is activation sequence, specifically related to purpose. The life's work sphere, which is the first one we'll explore, is about like what you, I hope I don't get this wrong, but what you're here to do in the world. So it's purpose. And then the sphere that's actually called purpose is more like how you be in the world. And so it's a very interesting and beautiful roadmap. And now that I said roadmap, take these personality typing systems, no matter what one you choose to explore, as a roadmap, and just that. Don't look at them as a guru. Don't look at them as the 100% truth. There's going to be a lot of truth and a lot you can relate to. I guarantee that. A lot of aha moments. But there will also be times when it's here. We always want to. I'm just putting the plug in. I'm going to put it in many times, but putting the plug back in to remind you that this is where you really have all of the true answers. And this is what we're going to be contemplating. This is the place where we're going to be contemplating from, is the heart. Okay, so we're going to get mental information, but this is where we contemplate. As you start to work through higher, and as you start to, then we start to bring in the Gene Keys, you're going to see a lot of things start to synchronize and shift in your life. So I just want you to know that your grounding point is always in your body, is always in your heart. It's never in a book or something one of us tells you. Now, of course, Andrea and I are going to be here to support and guide you along the way in this discovery process. But I just want to remind you that you have all the answers already. We're just here to help guide you and open things up so you can see a little bit more into the truth of who you really are. So thank you for taking the time to watch this introduction to the Gene Keys. If you have any questions, just let myself or Andrea know. And I'm so looking forward to this exploration with you and bringing this into higher.